Good morning, class. I thought I'd give a brief overview, or try to give as brief overview as possible of week 3 and basically week 4. We're finishing up, or you should have finished up your narrative final draft last night. So most of y'all were able to submit that into the Dropbox. Some of y'all have had some confusion about the Dropbox. Remember, the Dropbox usually will be open in that particular week when that final draft of whatever essay that we're doing is due. So it will usually say, Dropbox essay 1, like this one did yesterday, or Dropbox essay 2. It will be in a particular weekly folder so you can upload your essay as a Microsoft Word document. Now, again, if you upload it as a PDF, I can't mark it up. Only thing I can do is read it and give it a grade. So you're not really going to be getting any detailed feedback if you submit it as a PDF. If you submit it as something else where I can't download or read it, it automatically grades it as a 0. So make sure that you're sending it as, especially if you want feedback, as a Microsoft Word document attachment. That would be beneficial. Again, if you want to send me drafts, you need to email me your Microsoft Word document. Don't try to find a Dropbox for rough drafts. There's not one for rough drafts. You just have to email it to me. And you probably should be using tutor.com. Excuse me, if you didn't use it for the first essay and you get that first essay grade back and don't like it, I would definitely use tutor.com as well to help improve that grade, because moving forward, really, like I said, the last couple of weeks, the more sets of eyes, whether my eyes, tutor.com, your peers, as it relates to the peer review. Some of y'all did that really well. Some of y'all didn't do it at all, which is not really helping your grade at this point. Be careful of zeros. Some of y'all that collected zeros for essay 1 because you didn't turn it in, saw your grade drop about 60 points from Sunday to Monday. The thing about, like I said in the syllabus, we don't have time for redos. We don't have time for makeups. If you can't keep up with the deadlines and the due dates as listed in your syllabus or your checklist, then just know you get, multiple zeros, especially if you get more than 3. As the semester moves on, you're going to be at a 40 or lower. I know some folks right now are sitting at a 20 or lower because they haven't been turning anything in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So if you're not wanting to turn stuff in, or you're really starting to see your grade drop that fast, my suggestion is, even before midterm at this point, go ahead and just withdraw. If you're not going to be serious with it, you're not going to follow the deadlines, you're just, that's sort of a waste of time on your part, especially since we're going on week 3. Next week would be basically week 4. So we'd be basically in this spring semester for 1 whole month. And if you're sitting at an 18 or a 13 when we get to February 1st, it's going to be hard to pull that grade up, especially if you're not turning stuff in. But anyway, don't want to get on that dead horse. For those that are turning stuff in, who are asking questions and reaching out and doing the peer reviews and emailing me drafts and communicating with me on a regular basis, kudos to you. That's how you sort of become successful with these online courses. A lot of folks take online courses thinking they're going to be easy. They're not really any easier. I would suggest, if you don't like online courses from here on out, to take more in-person or hybrid-like courses, because each online course is a little different. Some may be a little easier than others, but most are fairly, they're packed with a lot of stuff that you have, within a 7-day period have to get done. And if your schedule just doesn't match with the online schedule, then again, you probably want to come to class 1 day or 2 days or 3 days a week. That's something you can kind of think about for summer and fall semester. So we're in week 3, and in this particular week, week 3 and week 4, we're going to be talking about the rhetorical mode of writing known as descriptive writing. So essay 2 is going to be a descriptive essay, and we will look at some of those topics, or I'll bring them up to show you where they're at. This particular essay needs to be 3 to 4 pages in length, or 750 to 1,000 words. So with each essay, like I said in an earlier video, we're increasing the paper length and we're increasing the word count, because as we get closer to April and you have to do that 6 to 8 page research paper, you'll be able to get the paper length and the word count down without having much issue, I hope, as long as you go through the process of what you need to do as it relates to the research project. But we'll be talking a little bit more about that toward the end of March. So probably what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through week 3 a little bit. I'm going to play some videos. Some of the videos may be on the actual Blackboard, some may not be. So you got a couple things that we're going to look at, and I'm going to switch over here to the actual class. Let's see. Show you where everything is at here, so there's no confusion. So we're in week 3. As you can tell, we're listed up with the table of contents. The first part is writing paragraphs, part 1 and part 2. There's information in your e-text. Remember, your e-text is right here. You can read those pages. Again, it seems like there's a lot going on there, but again, if you look at it, a lot of it's diagram, pictures, images, exercises that you can sort of pass over. But read those. I think most folks know how to write a paragraph. Some need to have a better structure with it. I know after grading the first essays here, we're going to see who has paragraph writing down to a T and who probably still needs a little bit more work on it. And a lot of this just depends on how strong you are at writing anyway. If you didn't do a whole lot of writing in high school, then you should expect that your writing as it relates to paragraphs probably ain't going to be all that good at this point. We hope as we go from January to February to March, that your writing as well as your grade improves by the time we get to May 1st, which is basically be the time our semester ends for the spring. Rhetoric aspect, this deals a little bit more with the grammar. We're going to watch some videos that deal a little bit with nouns and articles and verbs. A lot of this just should be review, honestly. I mean, you've known about nouns and articles probably since 2nd or 3rd grade, if not earlier. Same thing with verbs. The thing about grammar and the thing about writing, ever since you first started writing and typing, you've learned about, grammar and essays and that type of stuff. So a lot of this is just sort of dusting off the old cobwebs in your head and your brain and sort of just relearning this stuff. The huge salvation piece, if you click on that, it's going to download it. And if you look, this is a really short piece. It's about 2 pages. It's a really good professional descriptive piece. We will look at a short student video that sort of sums it up here momentarily. But if you look over here in the margins, it sort of gives you some guidance. Like if you read a particular sentence or paragraph and you're still needing some help to look back, what's going on, you can find some information here that will sort of help you get through the reading. So when we get to the questions that you're going to have to do for this Sunday, right? There's 2 of them. There's A and B. So, read that particular piece and come back and answer these questions. This is the Dropbox, just like the Dropbox for the Wolf piece. You click on it, you can upload your file. This is where a lot of folks, your Dropbox for Essay 1 was sort of similar to this. You want to upload the file, click on it, make sure you click on the plagiarism tool, browse your local files, and make sure that you, upload your particular document. It needs to be, once you double click on it, there will be sort of like a little file here. That's going to tell you, and it's going to tell me that something is attached. If you don't see anything attached here, like a little file image, then you're not sending anything but a blank piece of paper. And you have to click the plagiarism tool to be able to basically get to the next step of this. And I'm going to show you what that means here momentarily too, because you're going to see when it relates. And sometimes you might have to come up here and look. You may have some pop-up blockers that you might have to enable. So as you can tell, it pretty much downloaded this Essay 2 topics, and I'm going to go ahead and pull these up, and we will look at this here too momentarily. I'm not going to sit here and read all these topics. I know you can read. There's not really a 6th topic. I don't know why it numbered that as a 6. It just basically tells you you need to engage with your readers. But this is sort of the guidelines or parameters, 3 to 4 pages or 750 to 1,000 words. We will look at the checklist to see when everything is due. But you basically have 5 topics again to write your 3 to 4 page descriptive essay on. Again, if you don't like one of these 5 topics, or if you have something better, please let me know what you plan on describing before you start with your rough draft. I just need to know where you plan on going with it, what it is, so that you will have enough to reach this 3 to 4 pages or 750 to 1,000 word limit. Because again, nothing's going to be more frustrating to have what you think sounds like a good topic, but you can't get past page 2. Now what? Well, you're going to have to go back and either pick one of these topics or you're going to have to select another one, which can be kind of time consuming depending on how late it is you decide to actually start working on this. The earlier the better, I would say, since you already turned the first one in. I hope to have grades for those throughout the week. Granted, I have, 5 classes besides yours. There's like 4 other ones that we're turning essays in about, either on Sunday or this first couple of days of this week. So I'm going to be busy reading. I'm going to be busy grading for at least a week. It could be a little bit longer depending on how fast and how long some of these things can take. But I plan on getting a good bit of them back by this time next week. So hopefully you have a grade, especially if you turn something in Blackboard the right way. It's easier for me to go back and get a grade on those because it's all set up right there for me. So if you turn something in, it's in Blackboard, you will get a grade. Just let me know if you have any questions about these topics, or if you have something different in mind, like I said, that you want to write your descriptive essay on, but it's not listed as a topic here. I'm all the ears. Let's look at the due date. So again, the due date for these, if you go back, is going to be under your assignment checklist. And again, you may have to enable some stuff or to make it download properly. Bring this over. Let's get rid of this. So this is the checklist that we pretty much follow for the course. If anything changes, I sort of let you know in email via announcements on Blackboard. So we're basically week 3. So again, that Hughes piece with those 2 questions are due this Sunday by 11:59. Again, at midnight it closes, it disappears. You have another peer review, which in this case is going to be due. I had to double check to change this because no, it is. It's due on February 1st by 11:59. And then that's for your rough draft, just like you did a peer review for Essay 1. Your final draft for Essay 2 is going to be due February 4th, which is that Sunday by 11:59. And then we will get into week 5 and start talking about the 3rd essay. So that's sort of the deadlines coming up. Keep in mind to make sure that you have this where you can kind of find where things are going to be due, so you're not getting behind. And just reach out if you have any other questions as it relates to some of these deadlines and due dates, because all this stuff has been up there since the first week. All right. Let me get out of this. This is that salvation piece. Let's look at a brief, like I said, student interpretation of that particular piece that could help as you start reading, give you a little bit of a description to this and how it goes. Some of y'all might have read this before in high school. So I think this sort of nails down or gives a summary of what it is. Again, you want to sort of go back and reread it to be able to answer A and B for this Sunday, which is the research paper. You want to have a dominant impression. And in this case with SA2, it still is that one sentence at the end of your introduction paragraph that is your thesis statement. It needs to be one complete sentence with one complete thought in it. As you can tell here, it's the central unifying theme of the description. It is the feeling the writer, which would be you, is trying to convey condensed into a single word or phrase. Now, it says single word or phrase, but basically you need one single sentence. We need to know where you're going to go over the next 3 to 4 pages. And if you don't have that as your last sentence in that introduction paragraph, again, you might as well stop and start thinking about getting one, because you're just going to be writing for the sake of writing and you're not taking this anywhere. There's no point to it. So you're wasting your time, and then you're wasting your reader's time because there's nothing there. Sensory details. We use these on a daily basis. Unless you got some disability in that area, meaning you can't see, you can't taste, you can't touch, you can't hear. You want to use sensory details throughout your particular paper. And what I would suggest, depending on what your topic is, because some of these are going to lend more than others. As you can tell, you have 5 senses right here. Well, if you can find a topic that you can talk about sight, you can talk about smell, you can talk about taste, you can talk about touch and hearing, you have 5 paragraphs right there. Just devote each one of your particular description around one of these 5 senses. So the only thing then you need to have is that introduction with your thesis. You have these 5 body paragraphs, and then you have your conclusion as your 7 paragraph. This particular paper, you're probably going to need to have at least 7 or more paragraphs. Just count on it. If you don't have 6, 7, 8 paragraphs, you probably are not going to be able to make 3 to 4 pages. So you're going to have to think about extending your paragraphs, right? Going back to that first video or so that we looked at paragraphs, and that last one that was really long and meaty, your paragraphs need to start looking like that. Within reason. I mean, again, I don't want you to turn something in that you give me 1 or 2 lengthy paragraphs that goes 5 pages. That's not an essay. You need to find where logically one paragraph breaks to make another one. Figurative language, you probably heard of this in some of your high school English classes dealing with poetry, which includes like metaphors and similes, analogies. All of those sort of help paint a picture in the reader's mind. Again, that's sort of the point. In 4 pages, do you make a sort of an impression, a movable mini movie in our head by reading those 4 pages? If so, and if the grammar's right, you got a dominant impression, and we see where you're going from point A to point B, chances are, as long as the grammar, spelling, and everything is on point, you probably have a pretty good descriptive paper. If it's not like that, then chances are your description is probably not on point, but off point. You're going to have a little bit more work to do, maybe some late nights to sort of get that back into order rather than chaos. Other elements of a descriptive essay include careful organization. You want your organization to flow. You don't want it to be all over the place. And you want to use precise language. You want to be clear with your description, or as clear as possible. You want to be careful not to overdo adjectives. It's like taking a piece of that chocolate cake. If it's too rich or too sweet, you're only going to want to take a couple bites, and you have to put it away a little bit. Or if you add too much salt to a particular vegetable or a particular dish, if you oversalt it, then you just sort of ruined it. It's hard to take that salt back out once you put it in. So be careful that you don't overdo the adjectives, but you need enough to get your point across as it relates to description. The other thing that you want to kind of keep in mind is you may have a little bit of narration with SA2. That's fine. But you don't want to basically write a second narrative paper, because we're focusing on description here. You need to have more description and less narrative. That's not to say you shouldn't have some sort of a narration going on, because everything that we do in life, when you wake up in the morning, you have a straightforward narrative for that particular day. You know where you're going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know where you're going to be at noon. You know where you're going to be at 5:30 in the afternoon. You know where you're going to be at 11:30 at night. So you will have some crossover with narration, which you should have had with, as it relates to narration, you should have had a little bit of description in your particular essay one as well. Not maybe so much because we wasn't really focusing on narration at that point. But you want to get to the point where the description is going to be a little bit more dominant than the narration in this case. Otherwise, let me see if there's anything else. Next week, which would be the week 4, I will have the Dropbox for the peer review, and I will also have the Dropbox for essay 2. That will start to open up later in that week because I don't want to have a lot of confusion of people trying to submit their rough draft in the final Dropbox. That becomes kind of problematic, and you get a lot of emails at different times during the day and night when it comes to that. So you can kind of expect, looking at the calendar here again, remember Sunday, the huge assignment is due. The 1st of February is when the peer review will be due, and then the final essay 2 will be due on the 4th. I will probably, the Dropbox for essay 2 will open up for the final draft on Friday sometime, which would be February 2nd. So you'd have from the 2nd to the 4th to get that final essay 2 in. Between now and then, you can go ahead and start brainstorming. You can go ahead and start drafting for essay 2. Work smarter, not harder. I wouldn't wait until, January 31st to start cranking out a 4-page rough draft so you can start submitting before the deadline on the 1st. Sometimes when you wait that late, it makes it difficult for others to give you proper feedback because you did wait basically for the, until the 11th hour to do anything. And that's sort of frustrating on a lot of number of levels. That's frustrating on me. That's frustrating on your other peers that need to look at a particular essay so they can answer the questions that I'm going to have. And it's kind of frustrating on you because now you got to turn around within 3 or 4 days and basically decipher what we've told you that you need to fix. And, you got 48 hours, 72 hours to get it all done. So you're constantly on the rush. It never feels good when you're constantly running to get stuff done. If you can work a little smarter each day and do a little bit each day, it'll save you a lot of time and algorithm later. I can guarantee you that, especially if you got multiple classes, you got kids, you got jobs. I mean, you might be working multiple jobs. You just want to find a system or a pattern that's going to work for you. And a lot of times that's going to be trial and error. You're going to have to experiment, especially if you got a job that sort of gives you yo-yo hours. If you got something that's a little bit more stable or constant, it might not be so bad. But again, you don't want to rack up a bunch of zeros. Racking up zeros is going to hurt. It's going to hurt quickly, but it's also long-term, it's going to hurt because we can't go back and redo any of these major assignments. Again, major essays collectively are worth 70% of your overall semester grade. So that's why if you got a 0 and had, let's say, a 70 in the class, that you have an 18. It's because we've only done 1, but it was enough to bring your grade down that low because you didn't take the last 2 weeks to turn it in. And like I said, basically with these shorter essays, you're going to have 2 or 3 weeks to get help, tutor.com, peer reviews, email me. But it really shouldn't take you more than a couple weeks to do a 2 to 3 page paper, 3 to 4 page paper, especially if you're on point about the business. Now, if you procrastinate and wait till the last minute, then of course, I mean, you're going to have a lot more stress than you probably need to. And you probably don't want to have that feeling every, second or third week, because that's when something's going to be due for me as it relates to a major assignment. The low stake assignments, the weekly assignments, like the Hughes and the Wolf piece, peer reviews, they're only worth 30% of your grade. It's not a big chunk, but it will start to add up as we get later in the semester. So if you're not turning those in, or you're only getting, 70 here or a 50 on a peer review, I mean, it's going to start adding up. Really, the 30% aspect of the course, the low stake assignments, are really there for you to have a little bit of cushion. If everybody can do really well on those, it will start to help you later in the semester if you got stuff coming up, in March or in April for another class that's a little bit more demanding. And let's say you don't do so well on an essay here and essay there. If your grade is already high heading into week 8 or week 9, it's probably not going to drop you drastically as, with that particular student who got that 0, yesterday, that it dropped them, basically. I mean, let's do the math here. They had about a 70 in the class. They made a 0 because they didn't turn anything in. And I don't even think they've actually emailed me for the last 2 weeks either. So I don't know if they're still in the class or what the deal is. But anyway, they went basically from a 0, or from 70 to a 18. So what is that, about 50 points, 52 points, I think it is. Yeah. So they lost 52 points in 2 weeks because they're not turning stuff in, or the stuff they are turning in is not very good. So I'm here to help you. It's free help. Obviously, if you email me after hours, I usually get off at 6 o'clock Monday through Thursday. If you're emailing me at 8, 9, 10, 2 o'clock in the morning, I've had some folks do that within the last couple of weeks, you're probably not going to get an answer until I get back into the office. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday generally is my off days. I will look at stuff, but I'm not going to be living behind the computer. So if you want something a little quicker, a little sooner, I would try to get it in before 6 o'clock on Thursday as it relates to emails. Now, I set up and I sent out, you might have to go back and look at some of your emails over the last 2 weeks. I did send a link for like a virtual classroom session via Teams that some of y'all signed up for, some of y'all didn't sign up for. Again, that's optional. That's another way that you can kind of get in touch with me. We can do a video thing like we're doing here if need be. Or if you just have a quick question, you can, jot it down and send it. If I have time, depending on where I'm at, I can basically answer that relatively quickly. You just got to keep in mind, I do travel on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So really, probably after 1:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays would be a better chance of getting hold of me. Monday and Wednesday, for the most part, after at least Wednesday, after 9:30, I'm pretty much free for a good bit of the day. Monday, I do have a hybrid class that starts at 4. So anytime between, 9:30 and 3:30, that's probably a good time to reach. Or, just do like a Teams meeting type deal. If you're in the Camden area or close by and can drive and make the trip, I can always meet you for in-person tutoring at the library or one of my classrooms. Again, all this stuff is free, just like tutor.com. If you use it through the Blackboard where it says online tutoring, click on it, follow the instructions, that's free too. So whatever it takes for you to do well in the class, I want to help you do well. I want you to succeed. I want this to be the first and only time that you have to take 1101. But you need to be able to communicate and reach out in a timely manner too. I mean, don't wait until after I've already graded something to say, hey, I didn't understand it. Well, you had 2 or 3 weeks to get help. Why didn't you get help? You pretty much read the assignment and knew probably by the time you closed your computer that day that you knew that you needed help on the assignment. So don't wait until the last minute, please. I can do a lot more early on, more so than if you wait until, let's say, Sunday, the essay's due at 11:59 and you start panicking and emailing me at 10:45 in the evening. Probably not going to answer it. One, I got 2 kids that are elementary school age. They need to get to bed. And 2, I need to get up and get to Camden by 7:30 in the morning from Brunswick. So I'm not going to be staying up reading a bunch of panic emails when you had, 15 days to get help. Just use common sense about things. All right. So this would probably be the only video I do for week 3 and week 4. When it comes week 5 and week 6, I will do a video for that. I hope everybody has a great week 3, and I hope everybody has a great week 4. Please start sending me rough drafts of your descriptive essay when you get a chance. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Monday. Until we talk again or meet again, have a good one. Oracle mode. We have this information about descriptive writing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. You have information here in your book, your e-text, which is over here. You can watch this.